Moments ago, she blasted the cast of her now canceled hit show after apologizing. Now she says she's being thrown under the bus, taken off the air after her racist tweet about a former advisor to President Obama. She blames a sleeping drug for her Twitter storm.
Deadly storms strike the South. A flash flood emergency overnight, triggering a landslide, shutting down the interstate. And this reported twister taking aim in the heartland, collapsing the roof of this building. Now, the new threat this morning.
Overnight, President Trump takes aim at the Democrats, saying they're supporting a violent street gang.
The MS-13 lover, Nancy Pelosi.
And he repeats his false claim about a spy in his campaign. A top Republican says he's wrong.
Smash and grab. This brazen burglary caught on camera on one of the most famous streets in America, Rodeo Drive. The manhunt right now.
Good to be alive right about now.
And good to be alive. The 15-year-old swimming with his family in Florida when a 7-foot bull shark attacks. How he made it out and why he thought it may have been a prank.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
Good morning, America. Great to have all of you with us this Wednesday morning. And boy, do we have a lot of news overnight.
And Roseanne is leading that news. She's up on Twitter again. She had that racist tweet about Valerie Jarrett, aide to former President Obama. Apologized at first, was back on Twitter overnight after getting criticized by her cast members. You see them right there. They expressed their disappointment and disgust, and she was angry about it.
Roseanne's show is now canceled, and older episodes are pulled from the air. ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman is in Los Angeles with the latest. And Matt, Roseanne, she's blaming sleeping pills for this.
That's right. She was blaming Ambien, Michael, claiming the drug essentially caused her to lose control. Now, that didn't stop her from jumping right back on Twitter for her second consecutive night of binge tweeting, which included more offensive tweets. Now, that second meltdown coming just hours after she was effectively banished from Hollywood. Overnight, Roseanne Barr tapping out another controversial tweet storm just hours after vowing she was leaving Twitter, blaming the previous night's posts, which resulted in the cancellation of her show, on the sleeping drug Ambien, writing, "I think Joe Rogan is right about Ambien, not giving excuses for what I did, but I've done weird stuff while on Ambien, cracked eggs on the wall at 2 a.m., etc." She also tweeted an apology to the cast and crew of Roseanne, tweeting, "Don't feel sorry for me, guys. I just want to apologize to the hundreds of people and wonderful writers, all liberal and talented actors who lost their jobs on my show due to my stupid tweet." Her latest comments come after ABC, Hulu, and Viacom all yanked her titular show from their networks. And within hours of that, the embattled comedian's talent agency dropping her as a client as well. The axe coming down swiftly on one of TV's biggest stars Tuesday.
What's up, deplorable?
After this tweet late Monday, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ. VJ stands for Valerie Jarrett, President Obama's longtime advisor. And just a few hours later, ABC execs pulled the plug on the blockbuster show. Channing Dungey, president of ABC Entertainment, calling Roseanne's remarks abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show. Bob Iger, the CEO and chairman of ABC's parent company, Disney, adding, "There was only one thing to do here, and that was the right thing." 11 hours later came Roseanne's first attempts at an apology. Barr calling her tweet a bad joke, but adding controversially that it had targeted Jarrett's politics and her looks. Jarrett addressing the tweet Tuesday night at an MSNBC town hall entitled "Everyday Racism in America."
I think we have to turn it into a teaching moment. I'm fine. I'm worried about all the people out there who don't have a circle of friends and followers who come right to their defense.
27 million people tuned in to watch the first episode of the Roseanne reboot in March. It was such a surprising success that ABC immediately signed the cast on for a second season, which is why killing off the highest-rated show on any network in years surprised even insiders. When you first heard about the tweets, what did you think?
I thought there might be some ramification for Roseanne Barr and for the show. I never thought that they would cancel it as quickly as they did.
And even as she was attacking Jarrett Monday night, Roseanne was selecting other targets, linking Chelsea Clinton's husband with financier George Soros. When Clinton gently corrected her, Barr called Soros a Nazi collaborator. Were you aware of that? We all make mistakes, right, Chelsea? Soros is in fact a Jewish Holocaust survivor. By then, the implosion was nearly complete. Wanda Sykes, who served as a consulting producer this past season, announcing that she would not be returning. Sarah Gilbert, who plays Darlene Connor and is credited with spearheading the show's revival, calling the comments abhorrent. Michael Fishman, who plays her youngest child on the show, DJ Connor, crushed, saying he's devastated for all those who poured our hearts and souls into our jobs and the audience that welcomed us into their homes. Overnight, Roseanne's latest tweets alternating between contrite and combative. One tweet reading, "Hey guys, don't defend me. It's sweet of you to try, but losing my show is zero compared to being labeled a racist over one tweet. I regret that even more." But she also retweeted a slew of comments like these. "Just imagine if any leftist celeb got this treatment." And in response to the comment, "I personally thought Valerie Jarrett was Hispanic," Roseanne replied, "I thought she was Saudi." And you probably noticed that in the piece, but what seemed to be the trend of Roseanne's night was this alternation between contrition and attack. Now, after apologizing to her cast and crew, she then personally went after her TV children, responding to Gilbert's statement that Roseanne's posts were abhorrent with a "wow, unreal." And then she turned on her TV son, Michael Fishman, who plays DJ. And as you saw, he wrote how crushed he was, especially since his character was designed to reflect his beliefs of inclusivity. Roseanne's response, "I created the platform for that inclusivity, and you know it. Me. You throw me under the bus." Nice. So we haven't seen any new tweets over the past few hours, but stay tuned. Probably we'll see some more in the future.
It sounds like a pretty safe bet. Okay, Matt, thanks very much. Man, that's really something.
It really is.
We're going to move on now to President Trump. He was back on the campaign trail last night in Tennessee, a key state to determine control of the Senate in these midterm elections. I want to go to our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega. And Cecilia, the president, when Roseanne first came back on the air, he had a lot of praise for her, didn't touch it last night.
Yeah, that surprised a lot of people, George. No mention of Roseanne. The White House says the president was too focused on other things like North Korea and the economy. You know, this was supposed to be a campaign rally about the midterms. Instead, what we saw was vintage Donald Trump. Before a crowd of cheering supporters in Nashville overnight, President Trump tested out a new nickname.
The MS-13 lover, Nancy Pelosi. She loves MS-13.
And Nancy Pelosi was far from the only Democrat he went after.
Sometimes referred to as Crying Chuck Schumer, right? Crying.
18 months into his term, he still attacked his defeated rival.
The only way she filled up the arena was to get Jay-Z. And by the way, without any musical instruments, I had much bigger crowds than he was drawing.
For a full hour, the president was unscripted and loving the spotlight.
We will do it all with these big, beautiful hands. Look at these hands.
The crowd chanting some old standbys and some new ones.
This is why we call the bloodthirsty MS-13 gang members exactly the name that I used last week. What was the name?
And he went back to that unfulfilled campaign promise.
They're going to pay for the wall, and they're going to enjoy it, okay?
He even turned the false claim that a spy infiltrated his campaign into a rallying cry for his base.
So how do you like the fact they had people infiltrating our campaign? Can you imagine?
And overnight, a top House Republican contradicted the president, saying President Trump was not a target.
I am even more convinced that the FBI did exactly what my fellow citizens would want them to do when they got the information they got, and that it has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Yeah, so that is the strongest pushback yet from any presidential ally on that false claim about the Spygate story. The president's line that Mexico will enjoy paying for the wall, you can imagine that prompted some strong and immediate pushback, too, from Mexico's president. The president, Trump, was barely off the stage before Enrique Peña Nieto tweeted, "No, Mexico will never pay for a wall, not now, not ever. Sincerely, Mexico." George?
And Cecilia, at this point, the president has every reason to know that what he's saying about the infiltration of his campaign is not true. Congress has been briefed, his staff has been briefed, yet he keeps on repeating it.
He sure does, and those calls are getting louder by Republicans and his own allies, George.
Okay, Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. Robin?
And George, now a new twist in that on-again, off-again summit with North Korea. The White House now says it expects the summit to take place. A top North Korean official is heading to the U.S. this morning to lay the groundwork. Our chief foreign correspondent, Terry Moran, is tracking all the back and forth. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Robin. This morning, a flurry of diplomatic activity taking place across the globe as officials in the U.S., in North Korea, and South Korea all are scrambling to save this summit, racing against the clock. It was just 6 days ago, remember, that President Trump called the whole thing off. But now White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders telling reporters, quote, "We expect it to take place." She added, however, it could take place as scheduled on June 12th or at a later date. And today, former North Korean spy chief Kim Yong-chol, he's one of Kim Jong-un's top aides, heading to New York, as you say, to meet with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to plan this summit. It's their second meeting, and in Singapore, where the summit is supposed to take place, U.S. and North Korean officials are planning security and other logistics. So what we're seeing is two leaders who clearly want to talk, Trump and Kim. While their top aides and officials, some of whom are deeply skeptical about all this on both sides, they're scrambling to lay out an agenda for peace that's actually achievable. It is high-stakes stuff, so stay tuned, Robin.
You beat me to it. I was going to say that. Stay tuned. Terry, thank you. Michael?
All right, thank you, Robin. Now to that flooding emergency forcing mandatory evacuations in North Carolina overnight. In Tennessee, a lightning strike turning deadly. ABC's Steve Osunsami is there in Nashville with more. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning to you, Michael. It is continuing to rain here in Nashville, but what's interesting is what's left of this subtropical storm is the least of our problems this morning. There are now separate weather systems across the country bringing flooding and tornadoes. It was a frightening night for families north of Oklahoma City. What looked like a tornado came barreling toward this building.
Oh, right there! Right there!
As the sirens rang out, people ran for their lives.
It's right there.
Push that chair up.
At one point, the roof falls in. Police say no one was seriously hurt.
The roof blew off the Eastman building.
When the winds died down, the place was in pieces. The roof left hanging off the side of the building. High winds and hard-hitting hail swept across the heartland overnight. And on the East Coast, a different weather system entirely is causing flash flooding and forcing the evacuation of families in rural North Carolina who live near a dam.
Motor vehicle collision, landslide, vehicle strapped.
East of Asheville, a mudslide shut down all but one lane of I-40, stranding drivers. And in Georgia's High Falls State Park, two teens who police say ignored warnings were stuck on rocks near the waterfall and had to be rescued when it was too dangerous for them to make it back to dry land. Police, who often have to make rescues at that location, are considering charges.
We're getting tired of pulling folks off the river. This is not rocket science. Keep yourself out of the river. When it looks like this, you're going to die. Not to mention we keep sending firefighters out, but these guys have families too.
Today, the severe weather stretches from the Rockies to the southern plains. There were more than 200 reports of severe weather across this same area yesterday. George.
Rough night. Okay, thanks very much, Steve. Now to that political scandal in Missouri, where Governor Eric Greitens has announced that he will resign his office, stepping down under political and legal pressure, facing mounting allegations that began with a disturbing account from his ex-mistress. ABC's Alex Perez is in Jefferson City, Missouri, with the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, George. Legislators here at the Capitol had actually already started the impeachment process. The governor vowed to remain in office, but all of that suddenly changed with his surprise announcement. Missouri Governor Eric Greitens, once a rising star in the Republican Party who ran on family values, overnight buckling under pressure.
I am announcing that I will resign as governor of Missouri.
The embattled governor, unable to survive bipartisan criticism that began swirling after he was charged with felony invasion of privacy. Those charges stemming from an affair with his former hairdresser before he was governor, a case that grabbed national headlines. The woman accused him of taking a partially nude photo of her and threatening to distribute it if she told anyone of their sexual encounters. Greitens admitted to the affair but denied any wrongdoing.
This ordeal has been designed to cause an incredible amount of strain on my family.
Investigators never found the alleged picture, and those charges were dismissed.
A great deal of work is left undone. The time has come, though,
to tend to those who have been wounded.
And his legal troubles are not over just yet. A special prosecutor is now taking a second look at that invasion of privacy charge. The governor's resignation is effective Friday. George?
We'll learn more on that today. Okay, Alex, thanks very much. Robin?
And George, now to Hawaii and new concerns from that volcano. Lava flows crossing a highway, cutting off a critical access point. ABC's Whit Johnson is on Hawaii's Big Island. Good morning, Whit.
Good morning to you. You can see and hear this incredible lava fountain bursting a couple hundred feet into the air from the earth. This is coming from fissure number 8. We've been watching it over the past few days, but this is the most active we've seen it so far. Beneath it, a river of lava, in some places moving up to 500 yards per hour. Compare that to earlier stages in this eruption where the lava was moving just 13 feet per hour. Now, Hawaii County is now reporting at least 75 homes destroyed. That's up from 51 homes just a day ago, officials updating their accounting. Also, a trace amount of volcanic haze is now blowing all the way to Guam, nearly 4,000 miles away from the Big Island, according to the National Weather Service. And the lava flows continue to cause problems for evacuations. It crossed Highway 132. That's a critical access point, making it tougher for people to get out. Guys, back to you.
All right, Whit, long way from that being over. We're going to turn now to a big win for Serena Williams. She advanced in her first major tournament since maternity leave, winning in straight sets in the first round of the French Open. And her, let's say her outfit had people buzzing on social media. I love what she tweeted. Catsuit anyone? For all the moms out there who had a tough recovery from pregnancy like she did, here you go. If I can do it, so can you. Love you all. She says she felt like a queen from Wakanda.
Pretty fierce.
Forever. Serena forever.
But you know what? She is the best. I mean, watching her on the court, so powerful, and glad to see that she's back.
That's a great shout out to moms.
Great shout out to moms out there. We're going to give a shout out to Ginger. And Ginger, you're going to tell us about some heavy rain that's heading for the east.
Yes, I'm still waiting on the black cat suit post-baby, but you know what we will do? I'm inspired now, I'll tell you that. But what we are looking at is washed out roads, more than 6 inches of rain falling very quickly, and the tropical moisture going to keep fueling that. Flash flood warnings in place. These are the type that can kill you if you drive into them, right? From Montgomery, Alabama to Morgantown, North Carolina. So western North Carolina. You can still see the circulation of what's left of Alberto as it moves north. Places like Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, even West Michigan, Grand Rapids up to Cadillac could see the potential for 2 to 3 inches of rain. So keep all of this in mind today as you travel around. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, the rainy cities, sponsored by CarMax.
You can now reserve a car online, and CarMax will hold it for you up to 7 days for free. You come in when it's convenient. I know this because I'm from 7 days in the future. Now, don't be frightened. 7 days in the future is a glorious place. After all, you had 2 good hair days in a row. Perfect. Right out of bed. And this car you reserved at CarMax.com is still being held for you for free. Pretty sweet. Or, as we like to say, from 7 days in the future, we still say pretty sweet. It's basically the same.
Gross, soupy, real humid day for us, especially here this morning with those pockets of fog. 69 to 70 degrees this morning, topping out at 80 later today with a few isolated thunderstorms. We'll have an increased threat of rain for the remainder of the week and even Saturday. Possible weather alert for tomorrow. We'll have those storms popping between 3 and 9 p.m. They'll be slow moving, could bring more than an inch of rain to the area. And because of that, again, on weather alert. So stay weather ready with your Storm Watch 7 weather app.
We use big words like stunning and incredible often, but this dust devil really deserves those words. That is in Scottsdale, Arizona. Blue sky behind, that's classic, because this is not a tornado. It forms very differently. It's a differential in heat at the surface and air around it. I'm telling you, that one was, and it almost got that guy. They're not safe either.
We call it a dust devil.
Dust devil, big one.
New words.
Thank you, Ginger. Coming up, much more on Roseanne and her career of controversy.
And why Morgan Freeman is demanding a retraction after that report about women accusing him of sexual harassment. New questions are being raised.
I've always been about what's next. I'm still